I'm going to start by pointing out the issue that we have at the University of Melbourne, and I wager it's an issue that most universities have across the country and the globe. And that issue is that we have 1,000 graduate researchers coming to the University of Melbourne a year. That's over 6,000 in total. And the average graduate researcher comes with a very shallow toolbox, and they can't quite carry on using Microsoft Word to produce high-quality research. What they do need is more sophisticated tools to collect data. Now, I'm presuming that most of you in this room know what a lot of these icons are. Graduate researchers probably don't know what any of these things are, so you don't know what you don't know, which is another problem we have. They also need more robust and powerful tools to analyze their data, whether it be terabytes or even petabytes. And they also need some really decent tools to be able to visualize, prototype, and publish their data. An associate professor once told me she flicks through journals, goes straight to the research section, looks at the graph, and if it doesn't look sexy, she says, and you can't see the p-values clearly, she doesn't read any further. So it's really important that you get some good visualization if you're publishing. So why is this important? Well, we cannot afford for our researchers to make mistakes. It's not only embarrassing to them, it's embarrassing to the institution, but also it can be quite harmful to the public sometimes. And researchers need to be digitally reproducible. As Newton once said, we need to be able to stand on the shoulders of giants. And this demand, unfortunately, is just too big for a one-to-one IT help desk. They've even produced a TV show to show you how they can't meet the demand. So what we've done at the University of Melbourne is a community approach. And in a nutshell, instead of giving somebody a fish to eat for a day, the idea is that you give them tools on how to fish so they can eat for a lifetime. So what does this look like? I'm going to introduce you to the Research Bazaar that Jonathan was talking about.
That cares about its researchers in a very real way. So what is ResBaz? ResBaz is the Research Bazaar, and like its name sounds, it's a place where all PhD postgrads in the research community here at University of Melbourne can come together and learn about all the services and skills that are here to support you, the researcher. The best part is it's a chance for the community, all the researchers, to come together, learn from one another, and enjoy each other's company.
Research is really important to us at the University of Melbourne. It's one of the three strands of the triple helix: research, teaching and engagement. Our reputation largely comes from our research. The way we open minds at the University of Melbourne is not just through our teaching, but through discovery, through asking the tough questions and bringing deep scholarship to those challenging issues faced by our community. Thank you, ResBaz, for promoting research.
So that's the conference that happens once a year within the community approach. That's the big drum beats, and then the small drum beats are the workshops that we run throughout the year. So what does this service look like in numbers? David's going to come up and talk more about the nitty-gritty shortly, but that ResBaz, we had 400 attendees, and every year we always try and trend number one on Twitter, which we've achieved in the last 4 years. Although Research Bazaar was invented, if you like, at University of Melbourne, it's worldwide. There's 200 ResBazes worldwide, not just in Australia and Europe. Sorry, did I say 200? I meant 20. Maybe in the future. Yeah, so not just in Australia, but in Europe and America as well. Throughout the year, we have over 1,500 participants attending our workshops. We've actually already reached that target already, and we're in September for this year. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what number we reach at the end of the year. It won't surprise you that the most popular tools that graduate researchers want and need are IPython, RStudio, and then to a lesser extent MATLAB. But there's hundreds of tools that researchers use. We offer about 20 at this stage. Currently, we have 15 part-time PhD trainers, and in total, it works out as 4 full-time equivalents. So our training services provides a service to all faculties across the universities, obviously science and medical dentistry and health sciences being the top one, and then you've got engineering. But as you can see, I don't know, yeah, you can see up there, there's also arts is in there as well. It appears quite heavily, which is nice to see. Our participants are mainly PhD students. I like how last year they had a burst in their first year, got a little bit complacent in their second, and then the third year they was like, oh no, and they came back again. And then we're surprised how many master's students we're getting, and I think a lot of master's students have got their eye on the prize for a PhD, so they think, I need to skill up in these tools to produce some good research. And then the gender reflects worldwide trends as well. So, what's our training methodology? The key is always going to be pedagogy over technology. You've got to have engaging workshops and meetups. It can't be click and point and bore people to death. So I train up all of our PhD trainers, and I mean, it's just a sample of things. There's always like specific learning objectives. Although listening to Michelle yesterday, I like the idea of having competency-based objectives instead. I'll go back to the team and mention that to them. Learning's got to be scaffolded. And it's got to be engaging by having problem-based learning in this. There's always a challenge at some point within the workshop. No one is up there talking for too long before they get their hands and get coding and get playing with the tools. And then we really harness peer learning. It's a really powerful tool. And also, you forget, PhD students are really, really lonely people. And so to actually even just meet and talk to another human being out of their labs or their faculties is quite special. But the secret sauce is this. I don't teach the graduate researchers how to use these tools. I did my PhD 10 years ago. I'm too old. I'm not cool enough. You guys here also shouldn't teach them. It's for researchers by researchers. That is the secret sauce to this. In the middle there, we've got John. John is one of our PhD candidates. He's absolutely wonderful. And there's a kind of a kinship when he does the workshops, because the other students are sitting there thinking, this dude is teaching this tool and knows it already, and they look up to him, and it's just more relatable. So that's the real kind of secret sauce to this. So next steps. Well, actually, Bernard's team did a survey recently, and we found out that graduate researchers not only want face-to-face, but they want a little bit of online content as well. So that idea of having a bit of blended learning, not to replace the online content, not to replace face-to-face, but to complement. So one problem that we had was, if you're a graduate researcher, what the hell does R mean? What does NLTK mean? What does GitHub mean? They don't know what these things mean. And so we created a series of videos with, I think, Ben's team on just introducing the tools so they know what they mean. So this is an example.
When we read, we usually read all the words from start to finish and get lost in the story. That's great. That's what good storytelling is all about. But what if you want to know the structural elements of narrative? How a certain word is used grammatically, the context in which words appear, frequency. What if you want to analyse millions of words in minutes or seconds? Hi, my name is Kim, and I'm a PhD student, and I teach the Natural Language Toolkit. The Natural Language Toolkit, known as NLTK, is a computer language for analysing human language, any digitised text. In my research, I analyse online news media with NLTK. I can study thousands of news articles at once, much more than I could ever read. Do you want to know how people feel about a certain topic on Twitter? NLTK can analyse sentiment in text. Do you want to find all the people and organisations named in a collection of news articles, all the most common words? NLTK can do it for you. If you need to know all the ins and outs of grammar, NLTK can identify every noun, verb, adjective, etc. for you. Research groups used to take months to do these tasks by hand, if they attempted such tasks at all. If you use language in your research, NLTK is relevant to you, and best of all, it's free. Don't worry if you've never coded before. Learning to code is quicker than counting words. Discover how language works with NLTK.
So that video actually came out of Kim herself. She, all of our trainers get NPS scores at the end, so to see whether they like the training or not. And she came to me upset one day because she normally gets really high scores, 9s and 10s, and she received a 1. So we looked further into the data, and why did that person give her a 1? And the person said, well, I didn't expect to code in NLTK. So she obviously didn't understand the whole point of what it was in the beginning. And even though there's a blurb on Eventbrite, people don't read stuff, but they're more likely to perhaps read watch a 1-minute video instead. We're also starting to do some e-learning content, and we're launching it in January. Again, this is a new thing for us. We're playing around with it, really. So it may be that our trainers want everyone to know a concept before they come to the workshops. And some of our trainers are going to do a little segment, a course segment that you need to know during the workshop. So, for example, John often has to teach for loops again and again and again, and so his video is going to be on that. And then some of our trainers are going to kind of extend learning by doing just a little 5-minute e-learning content afterwards. So we're playing around with that one. And then you've got the Digital Research Skills Cookbook. So it was published this year, but last year I kind of thought, God, we've got such great trainers here, and they've got such great content, but only people from the University of Melbourne can really access it. So we got them in a room, and we did a book sprint, and here you go, there's a book here. And they wrote chapters on how to begin all of the digital research tools. And there's also information, it's topped and tailed with how to run a research bazaar. Today we're giving them away for free, so if you want to come up at the end and have a chat with us, you're more than welcome to take one. So, what are the key ingredients for a successful training service? Well, community, people is the main one, and getting, as I said, for researchers by researchers, getting them involved, having engaging workshops so they're not click and point and dull, playing around with a little bit of online content, and if you can, getting some publications out there just to get the message known throughout your institution. Now I'm going to pass over to David, who's going to talk about the nitty-gritty of the numbers.
Thank you, Christina. And I guess Christina's good cop, and I'm going to play bad cop because the money side of it is interesting. So the real question is the key idea is, of course, Christina kind of mentioned it, we need to give these skills over to researchers so they can get on with them themselves. They don't want to wait for a consultant or someone in an IT help desk to come and tell them how to do this. They want to get on with it and get going on their own research and have these skills. That's really important. So fundamentally, we're trying to upskill that graduate researcher workforce and at the same time decrease the cost of the whole thing. So it comes down to this one little simple formula, and the University of Melbourne's actually been through a series of spill and fill, for lack of a better phrase, and with that we've been able to kind of consolidate around the concept that you can either have one full-time staff member at ADK, an IT or a librarian, or you can have 5 graduate researchers, which you get a lot of value add out of this, right? And the other thing I'd argue is you're never going to find any one IT person or librarian who's going to be able to represent 5 tools. So is there anyone in the room here who would say they're competent in R, Python, MATLAB, AutoCAD, and LaTeX? Anyone want to claim that? No, of course not, right? Where these people are very competent, and they actually have groups of community members around them who support these tools. So the other key number on this, which for those of you who want to try to start one of these communities yourself, I often benchmark the total cost of the staff, obviously, per bum on seat, and that's about 120 on average per participant in the room. If you compare that to MATLAB, say you were to have MATLAB come in and do a personalized training for you, that'll be anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 per training, and you'll get about 15 people in there. So not only do we have significant savings just on the training, we have all this additional value add in terms of community building and what happens in terms of engagement. So we're obviously quite mature. We've had an advantage that we've been up to this for 5 years now. And the way that the community looks right now is the current, I like to joke that it is a pyramid scheme, though of course, please remember, unlike a Ponzi scheme, skills, if Christina gives me her skills, I haven't taken Christina's skills away from her. So it's a zero-sum game. So please don't think I'm an American up here trying to, sell you on a Ponzi scheme. But it does break down. And look, it's different for every university. University of Melbourne, we don't currently have, well, we do have a couple of campuses, but primarily we are a single campus-based university. We have a central training room. And I know this will be different for other people. I know it's different for Queensland. I know it's different for Sydney in the way they run their ResBazes. Like I said, we have 3 support people. So myself as community manager, you obviously have a product manager who oversees the service. You have Christina, who's part-time consultant, who is the learning and development manager. And then we spend the rest of the money, obviously, on those ResComs that I was talking about, the $15K per PhD student to run it. If you're getting started yourself, the way we started in the early days is it was just me and 5 ResCom. And it was very much a grassroots effort, but we build up that. We've made the strategic arguments within the university to get more funding for this. And yeah, we are hoping that we'll be able to support more than just the currently we are able to support around 20 tools. We're really hoping to increase that number. Like I said, we recognize there's at least 100 applications which researchers use cross-disciplinary. That doesn't include tools like Bernard was pointing out earlier, which would be just astronomy specific or a neuroscience specific, so forth and so on. It's probably more in the range of 400 to 600 tools applications which are used across campus, if you think about it that way. So, if you'd like to get started, well, obviously you can come talk to us and grab a book. Ask Christina for a signature as the editor. She doesn't like when I do this. But more importantly, we are putting forward a grant proposal to the newly formed ARDC. We've been working with ARNet because we're hoping to utilize Cloud Store and the new Jupyter notebook, which uses R Studio and Python stuff, our more popular tools in all the libraries, so that people can use Cloud Store, so participants can come to a training, drop all their data files within a folder set up for them. They'll double click, a little container will launch, Jupyter will build for them, and that gets us towards this concept of having greater reproducibility in research, and immediately getting on the virtual desktop stuff. So what Bernard was talking about, Bernard and I have been talking about this for 5 years now, so we're trying to get there desperately. So please come talk to us. We would love partners. We'd love to see ResBaz grow. Like Christina said, it's already in Europe. It's in the US. It's in New Zealand. New Zealand's taken it up massively, actually. It's all over New Zealand. They're more popular there than it is here. Again, here are some things we can provide you with. I can provide you with strategic guidance for your senior managers. I have a lot of discussions with Chancellery on this stuff and what the learning objectives need to be. We can provide tactical guides. So Christina has a lot of documentation on how you can get the library and IT services involved and what that means. And then, of course, there's just the worldwide on-call support. We're not looking to own the community here. ResBaz is a Creative Commons thing. Anybody can steal the logo and use it and use any of our content. We work obviously a lot with other organizations like the Carpentries, Mozilla Science, O'Reilly Publishing, so forth and so on. So please just Google ResBaz on Twitter or on Google, and you will find all kinds of free resources out there to get started. Other than that, thank you very much. Please do come up, say hi. We don't want to take the books home with us, so please, everyone, come and grab a book. They're nicely published and printed, so please come say hi. Thanks. Cheers.
Excellent presentation, guys. Anyone have any questions? Because if you don't, I do. No, I'm going now. It's too late.
Instead of teaching researchers to code, could you teach people who can code to research?
Yes. Absolutely. No, absolutely. I'm not suggesting that, it's binary. It's an and, not an or.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with you?
Yeah, it's about their passion. So if their passion is nothing to do with coding, they still want to produce some really good research. But they just need to, you shouldn't need to have a computer science degree to be able to access these tools either. It shouldn't be that way, otherwise they're not really working. Yeah.
The bazaar that you showed, fantastic, really great idea. And I love the fact that, because we talk a lot about digitising everything and everyone's getting more FaceTime, and that's a bad thing, but then we go and put everything online, so we're enforcing it. And having a bazaar like that, that's fantastic. I think it's really, really good. Do you get ITs involved? There's a lot of kit sitting there when you're training people. So there's VR goggles, everyone's having to go at coding and bits and pieces. Are the IT guys supporting you? Are they bringing computers along to that? Obviously it's once a year, but then you've got the smaller ones during the year. Is that where you're getting the kit from? Is it coming out of the IT team in Melbourne?
Well, we sit within, IT services, so we're in infrastructure services and all the rest of it. Though, believe it or not, again, it's really interesting that most of them are bringing their own BYOB. The university obviously provides a grant to PhDs to get a laptop, and they'll go and buy that laptop. But we do get to the place where, the people doing fMRI or something like that, it's a massive data set, so they want those GPUs. So I really think, and we've gotten a lot of people want the GPU stuff. We've got an incredible amount of interest in that, because it doesn't make sense to buy a massive hunky GPU laptop when you can just spot use it and all the rest of it. And the 3D Slicer is actually a case study we did back in the day on that, because 3D Slicer being on a GPU in the cloud is probably a lot more effective than sitting on your desktop.
And that's what I said at the start. You were talking about, we're all suffering the same thing in terms of providing that. And it's, it's not the most intensively used piece of our HPC, which is running 100% most of the time, but it's required by so many people now, the GPU stuff. So yeah, we're all doing it. So yeah, the virtual desktop into that, but these guys, when they're doing the training, is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, IT definitely Bernard organises the tech tools on the stage, for instance. So, Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, it's a nice way to bring our whole IT department together, because otherwise we wouldn't all come together. We're all off doing our day-to-day work and all the rest of it. So I think you can't underestimate the value of utilizing your campuses and getting people face to face. If you look at surveys for graduate researchers, things that come top, people still kill themselves every year because of their PhD. So please don't, it's not just, it's the irony of calling them soft skills when they are really essential skills. We need to make sure that, researchers are getting that full spectrum of not only digital literacy skills, but emotional literacy, knowing how to be a leader, knowing how to write policy papers. So more and more, we think the Research Bazaar won't just be digital literacy skills, but we're also hoping to bring in other groups that'll have, everything from Christina's run mindfulness training, which was incredibly popular.
We have also a well-being sector where we have yoga and there's massage and there's mindfulness going on and there's an ice cream truck last year. Yeah. So it's the whole package, the holistic package of being a student.
I've got an IT team that would love to get involved in that sort of stuff. That's the sort of thing they'd love to come think you're 100% right. Researchers will receive it 100% better from researchers if we
Yeah.
can get those guys
That's it.
doing the training, and we do have the specialist guys that really focus on those tool sets. That,
Yeah.
yeah, it would work really well. I think it's a great idea. So thank them very much.